Hey everybody, how's the lighting? uh, it's real early in the morning and the light is gray, except for this red coffee cup. I'm doing this video for a friend. Actually, it's kind of for all of us. When I was when I was studying with my short time looking into the ministry, I used to have this policy of never talking about the last thing that I learned. But this time you guys are in for a bit of a treat, as I'm going to talk about some pretty fresh stuff for me. Shall Not Be Infringed had a video yesterday about how the state of Massachusetts and the Brady Bill and stuff related to each other, like how it is that when the when a state increases a law over federal, it's no big deal. But if if federal is up above what a state law is, I don't know. It's a bit of a I'm having trouble forming the thought here. Let me put it a different way. If Uncle Sam puts up a law that takes away more freedoms, that's fine. But if a state has a law that's beneath what is a federal law, then it isn't covered. It's like not Trump. Does that make sense? I don't know. Hopefully you understand the thought. But in the case of firearms rights, which it's very easy to talk about that as an example of rights because it's a very tangible type type provision. Like, do you have a particular device, and is it within your right to own such a device? So, I mean, it's something you can really put your hands on. You can't quite put your hands on the freedom of speech now, can you? Certainly not when a Democratic or Republican National Convention has free speech zones so that you don't actually bother the delegates or end up on TV. You can't have that, right? But we know whether or not we can buy a suppressed firearm. So, um, so for Mike, I talked about in the comments of his video. I'll put a link down below so you can read what my comments were and his response. You can see where all this is coming from. In my very roller podger-esque type video. Wow, this is good. I think it's a step in the right direction. Making this video in this style, something a little bit different. Of course, I don't have those green glowing orbs behind me, but I am trying to grow a beard here. Oh, wow. Boy, my asides are terrible compared to other people's. Other people when they go off on a tangent, they at least talk about something interesting. Mine's like, I grow a beard, bird. Okay, so anyway, case precedents of whether or not a a state law that oppresses a freedom guaranteed by the Constitution would be enforced, or how your freedoms would be assisted by the federal government should you violate a state law. So let's start with the oldest one that I could find just off the cuff. Again, this information is very, very new for me. The first case that I was able to find historically is the United States versus Miller, 307 United States 174, and that was in 1939. What had happened was, let me look at the overappeal. I'm like reading while I'm thinking. What happened was Mr. Miller and his friend Frank Layton. This is a quote from the case study. Did unlawfully, knowingly, willfully, and feloniously transport in interstate commerce from the town of Claremore in the state of Oklahoma to the town of Siloam Springs in the state of Arkansas a certain firearm, to wit, a double-barrel 12-gauge Stevens shotgun having a barrel less than 18 inches in length. There's other details. I'm going to have the link for what I'm reading here. But if you go down to where the Supreme Court's response, it's about halfway down here. I'm going to leave the results of this case a little bit open-ended, as I'm using it just as an example of the federal's response. Okay, here we go. The cause is here by direct appeal. In the absence of any evidence tending to show that possession or use of a shotgun having a barrel of less than 18 inches in length at this time has some reasonable relationship to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia, we cannot say that the Second Amendment guarantees the right to keep and bear such an instrument. Certainly, it is not within judicial notice that this weapon is any part of the ordinary military equipment or that its use could contribute to the common defense. And then it gives a case precedence of Amet versus State of Tennessee. That is Tennessee 154, 158. Okay, next paragraph. The Constitution, as originally adopted, granted the Congress power to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions, to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. Let's see, U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. With obvious purpose to assure the continuation and render the possible effectiveness of such forces, the declaration and guarantee of the Second Amendment were made. It must be interpreted and applied with that end in view. So there is your Supreme Court response in 1939 of these guys. I'm gonna leave it up to y'all to see what the results of that were. And this will be our first part in the evolution of how the federal government sees to ensuring your freedom. Eventually, these cases, from the study that I'm going to put forth, eventually these cases will lead to the most recent one that I can think of, which is just last year, the Chicago one, which is, let me see what that was. I don't have it at the top of my head. I'm looking on my thing. Where was it? Sorry for the dead spots in the video, but, yeah, you know. Okay. McDonald versus Chicago. There it is. All right, man. Enjoy. We'll be having more soon.